If you still think Donald Trump controls every room he walks into, watch what happens when two hosts, one stage, and a single photograph of Melania take that belief apart in front of 90 million people. Nobody in the Dolby Theater knows what is inside the envelope. Jimmy Kimmel slides from beneath the podium before the second act begins. Not the seat fillers, not the publicists lined along the mezzanine walls with their phones already recording. Not even the show's executive producer, who will later tell 3 separate journalists that the last 40 minutes of the broadcast deviated from every version of the script she approved. By the time the envelope opens, it is already too late. The screen behind Kimmel freezes on a photograph. The photograph shows Melania Trump at a state dinner, mid-laugh, beside a foreign diplomat whose name has not yet been spoken aloud on American television in this context. Trump is visible in the background of the image 3 seats away, looking in the opposite direction. The distance between them in the frame is measured not in feet, but in silence. The kind of silence a photograph holds when it captures something a marriage has been working to keep invisible. Kimmel's hand rests on the edge of the podium. He does not speak. He lets the image sit on the 60-foot screen for 6 full seconds before he says a single word. The word is geometry. He says it the way a coroner says time of death. Without emotion, without emphasis, as a clinical observation that does not require agreement to be true. A woman in the 7th row presses her knuckles against her mouth. A camera operator in the pit adjusts her angle but does not blink. Then Kimmel says, "But to understand how we got to this photograph, we need to go back to the moment Donald Trump walked into this building tonight." But before we reach that entrance, the evening has to be understood from its beginning. The Dolby Theater is configured for 97 million viewers and 1,400 seated guests. But the room feels smaller tonight. The overhead grid carries 64 automated lights, and the gaffer has pushed them cold. Not warm gold, not cinematic amber, but a flat, cool white that makes every face in the first 6 rows look like a passport photo. The orchestra pit is silent. The conductor stands with his baton lowered, watching the wings with an expression that belongs in a hospital waiting room. Backstage, a production assistant later describes the energy as the opposite of excitement. Like everyone knew something was loaded, but nobody knew which chamber. Kimmel is already on his mark when the house lights dim. He does not enter from the wings. He is simply there, standing at the podium, hands folded, scanning the room with the patience of a man who has counted every face he needs and found them all present. His suit is dark, his tie is narrow, his posture carries the specific stillness of someone who has rehearsed not what he will say, but what he will do when the room turns against him. He holds the microphone loosely. His left hand stays flat on the podium surface, fingers spread as though measuring the width of the stage he is about to set fire to. Trump arrives 11 minutes into the broadcast. The entrance is not announced. There is no introduction, no fanfare, no orchestral sting. He simply appears at the end of the center aisle, flanked by 2 Secret Service agents who position themselves against the wall as soon as he reaches his row. His walk is slow, heavy, deliberate, each step pressing into the carpet as though claiming the ground beneath it. He pauses at the row entrance. His right hand moves to his tie, adjusting the knot with the practiced motion of a man who has performed this gesture 10,000 times in front of mirrors, cameras, and crowds that exist, in his calculation, primarily to witness him. He lowers himself into his seat the way a man lowers himself into a throne, wide, expansive, his elbows claiming both armrests before his back touches the cushion. His eyes find Kimmel immediately. The look is flat, unhurried, carrying the weight of a man who believes he has already won whatever contest is about to begin. His first words are not spoken into a microphone but are caught by a directional boom positioned above the 4th row. The audio is faint but unmistakable. He leans toward the aide seated beside him and says, "Kimmel's finished after tonight. Ratings are already down. Everyone knows it." Kimmel hears none of this, or if he does, his face does not register it. He continues the monologue. 3 jokes about the gift bags, a reference to a nominee's publicist, a callback to a previous ceremony's teleprompter failure. The audience responds on cue. The rhythm is familiar, comfortable, safe. Then Kimmel stops smiling. The transition is not gradual. It is a cut. One frame he is a late-night host working a room. The next he is something else entirely. His voice drops half a register. His shoulders square. His fingers close around the microphone. And for the first time, his grip tightens. He begins with Colbert. The screen behind him fills with a photograph of Stephen Colbert on his final Late Show set. The image is from the last broadcast. Colbert standing alone on a dark stage. No audience, no band, a single spotlight cutting through empty air. Kimmel does not tell a joke. He states a fact. He states the date Colbert's show was canceled. He states the viewership numbers from the final quarter. He states the number of advertisers who pulled their buys in the 60 days preceding the cancellation. He does not say the word pressure. He does not say the word political. He lets the numbers form a shape, and the shape speaks for itself. Then he reads a statement. The statement was issued by a CBS executive 4 days after Colbert's final episode. The statement uses the phrase strategic programming realignment. Kimmel reads the phrase twice. The second reading is slower. The silence after it lasts long enough for 3 people in the orchestra section to shift in their seats. Strategic programming realignment, Kimmel repeats. That's what you call it when a comedian gets too close to the truth, and the truth has friends in the building. Trump's jaw tightens. The movement is visible from the stage. Kimmel does not look at him. Not yet. The next image on the screen is a timeline. It spans 18 months. On one axis, Colbert's monologue topics, color-coded by subject. On the other axis, advertiser withdrawal dates, sponsor complaints logged with CBS's standards department, and 3 meetings, highlighted in red, between network executives and representatives from political action committees whose names are legible on the 60-foot screen. The alignment is clinical. The pattern is undeniable. Every spike in political content corresponds to a drop in advertising revenue that corresponds to a logged complaint that corresponds to a meeting that no one at CBS has publicly acknowledged. Trump shifts in his seat. His right hand moves to the armrest. His fingers grip the edge. The aide beside him leans in. Trump waves him away without looking. Kimmel turns to the photograph of Melania. He does not announce it. The image simply appears. It fills the screen with the quiet authority of evidence that does not need a prosecutor to explain it. The photograph is from a state dinner 18 months ago. Melania is seated beside the foreign diplomat. Her posture is open, her expression unguarded in a way that no official White House photograph has ever captured. The diplomat's hand rests on the table between them, palm up. Melania's hand is not visible in the frame. The absence is louder than any gesture could be. Kimmel reads the metadata printed in the lower corner of the image. Date, time, location, photographer's agency. He reads it the way a forensic accountant reads a bank statement. No inflection, no commentary, no interpretation. Then he places a second photograph beside the first. Same dinner, same table, different angle. In this image, Trump is visible in the background, mid-conversation with a donor, his back turned entirely to the table where his wife sits with a man whose government has been under investigation by 3 separate congressional committees. "I'm not making accusations," Kimmel says. "I'm doing geometry." The word lands in the room for the second time. Geometry, lines connecting, distances measured, angles revealing what straight-on perspective was designed to hide. A man in the 5th row drops his head into his hands. A woman near the aisle closes her eyes and does not open them for the rest of the segment. A door beside the stage-left curtain opens. A woman steps into the light. She is a former advance team coordinator who worked White House events for 2 years. She does not approach the microphone. She speaks from the edge of the stage, her voice controlled but thin, the kind of thin that comes from holding words inside your chest for too long. She describes the seating protocols for state dinners. She describes the specific instructions she received regarding Melania's placement, who she was to be seated beside, who she was never to be seated beside, and the one exception that was made 18 months ago when the arrangement was altered at the last minute by someone outside the normal chain of command. She does not name the person who made the change. She states the title. The title is enough. Her fingers grip the edge of a clipboard she is no longer using. Her knuckles are the color of paper. Trump's voice cuts across the room. It comes not from a microphone, but from his seat, raw and unfiltered, caught by the boom mic, and carried through the theater's acoustic architecture with startling clarity. "This is a setup. You're a disgrace. You're all disgraces." The words crash into the silence like a stone through glass. Kimmel does not flinch. He stands still the way the woman at the edge of the stage stands still, absorbing the impact without moving, letting the force pass through him and dissipate into the empty air behind the curtain. A second person steps through the door. He is older. He wears no badge, no lanyard, no identification. He is a former communications aide who spent 14 months inside the operation before signing a non-disclosure agreement, whose terms he describes, without reading from notes, in 4 sentences. His voice breaks on the 3rd sentence. His throat works visibly before the 4th. He does not wipe the moisture from his eyes. He describes not a single event, but a climate, a daily architecture of control in which information was partitioned, relationships were monitored, and silence was maintained not through threats, but through the systematic removal of every alternative. He pauses. His hands hang at his sides, fingers curling and uncurling, as though searching for something to hold. "I'm not betraying the family," he says. "I'm betraying a lie." The room breaks, slowly. One person in the mezzanine stands and begins to clap. Not fast, not loud, but deliberate, each impact of palm against palm carrying the weight of a decision. Others join. The clapping does not build into applause. It stays low and steady, a rhythm that sounds less like celebration and more like a pulse, the collective heartbeat of a room that has just watched something step into the light that was never supposed to leave the dark. Trump is on his feet. His chair rocks backward. His breathing is audible, short, shallow, visible in the rise and fall of his chest beneath the suit jacket. His hands clench at his sides, then open, then clench again. His posture, which entered the room wide and commanding, has contracted. His shoulders curve inward. His jaw locks. His eyes dart. Left, right, back to Kimmel, back to the screen, back to the door where the witnesses stand, unable to settle on a single point, because every point in the room has become hostile. His voice, when it comes, is higher than it was when he entered. This is illegal. This is an ambush. You planned this. You and Colbert and every failing network in this building planned this. The words pile on top of each other, losing shape, losing force, becoming the sound of a man who has run out of counter-arguments and is now running on volume alone. Kimmel watches him. The podium is between them like a border. Kimmel's hands are still. His breathing is even. He waits until Trump's words exhaust themselves against the silence of a room that is no longer listening to him. Then Kimmel speaks. You walked in to control this room. Now answer it. Trump opens his mouth. His lips part. His jaw moves, but no sound comes. The camera holds on his face, close, unblinking, clinical. The red tally light burns steady. 3 seconds pass. 5, 7. The silence has weight. It presses against the walls. It fills the seats. It sits in the space between Trump's open mouth and the words that refuse to emerge. And in that space, 97 million people watch a man who built an empire on never being quiet stand in front of the world with nothing left to say. By the second commercial break, the clip is live on 8 platforms. Within 9 minutes, it has been cut into 14 independent segments, each one traveling through a different audience at a different speed. The phrase, "I'm doing geometry," trends in 11 countries before midnight. 3 networks cut into their own programming to replay the Melania photograph beside the timeline, letting the images sit without commentary for a full 90-second segment. A CBS spokesperson issues a statement at 12:17 a.m. Eastern. The statement does not mention Kimmel by name. It uses the word regrettable twice and the phrase creative differences once. The statement is screenshotted within seconds and posted beside the corporate memo Kimmel displayed on screen. The contrast needs no caption. At 2:41 a.m., a news network receives an anonymous communication from a diplomatic staff member connected to the state dinner. No name, no photograph, only a verification on embassy letterhead confirming the seating change, confirming the timeline, and stating that continued silence is no longer professionally sustainable. The network's verification team cross-references the letterhead against public records. It matches. No proof it is fabricated. No mechanism to dismiss it quickly. The communication does not prove what happened at the table. It proves that what was shown on the screen at the Dolby Theater tonight was not invented. It was excavated. Trump's response arrives in 4 posts published between 1:15 and 3:48 a.m. The first is measured, the second is longer. The third uses capital letters for entire sentences. The fourth contains 3 exclamation marks and a threat of litigation that names no specific party and cites no specific statute. Each post is screenshotted and placed beside the moment in the ceremony it attempts to refute. On one side, a man standing at a podium with a photograph and a word. On the other, a man alone with a phone at 4 in the morning, writing sentences that grow louder as the silence he is trying to fill grows deeper. The geometry is visible now, and visible geometry does not lie, even when every person in the frame does. The ceremony ends. The statuettes are distributed. The after-parties fill with people who speak carefully, drink quickly, and check their phones every 40 seconds. But the thing that happened on that stage sits underneath every conversation, every toast, every handshake, the way a fracture sits underneath skin that still looks intact. People are not debating politics. They are debating what they saw on a man's face when the last word left him and nothing came to replace it. They are debating the distance in a photograph. They are debating the cost of a word spoken by a man who was told contractually to stay silent. The story does not end. It does not resolve. It keeps burning, slow and steady, the way a fuse burns after the flame has already passed the point of no return. Forums cross-reference flight logs. Journalists pull archived seating charts. The word geometry appears in op-eds, in tweets, in late-night conversations between people who have never watched an awards show in their lives. The answer never arrives. lives. The question never stops. Subscribe right now and turn on notifications. The next confrontation is already building, and once you see what is coming, you will understand why silence is always louder than power.